I found photos of my fiancé cheating hours before our wedding as ultimate revenge. The champagne flute slipped from Rosalind Hart's fingers, shattering against marble. She didn't hear the crash. Her eyes were locked on the phone screen, on the message that detonated her world. Congratulations. Just remember, he chose you because I told him to. You were always the backup plan. Sweet dreams, Mrs. Thorne. A. Below the text was a photo. Marcus, her fiancé, kissing another woman. Yesterday. The woman wore Rosalind's missing ruby necklace. Welcome to Rose and Retribution. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. 6 hours earlier, Rosalind had been the happiest woman alive. Her wedding dress, a custom Vera Wang worth more than most people's cars, hung like a ghost in the corner. Fresh roses filled every surface of the Plaza Hotel suite. Outside, 300 guests waited in the ballroom, including senators, CEOs, and Manhattan's elite. Marcus Thorne wasn't just her fiancé. He was her childhood friend, her father's protege and heir to Thorne Industries. Their union would merge two corporate empires, the perfect power couple. But perfection, Rosalind was learning, was just another word for lie. The woman in the photo. Rosalind zoomed in on the photo with trembling fingers. The woman's face became clear. Adriana Voss, her maid of honor, her college roommate, her best friend for 10 years. The ruby necklace around Adriana's neck was a family heirloom. Rosalind's grandmother had given it to her on her deathbed. For your wedding day, she'd whispered. Rosalind had noticed it missing 3 days ago. She'd thought she'd misplaced it. She hadn't misplaced anything. Another message arrived. Check the cloud folder I just shared. Password. Backup plan. You deserve to know the truth. The truth in pixels. Rosalind's hands shook as she opened the shared folder. Inside were dozens of files. Photos. Videos. Text. Screenshots. A timeline of betrayal stretching back 2 years. Marcus and Adriana at a hotel in Paris during the business trip where he proposed via video call. Marcus and Adriana in Rosalind's own apartment, in her bed, laughing. Text messages, she's so naive. She actually believes I love her. When do we tell her? After the merger. I need her father's signature first. A voice memo, Marcus's voice. Adriana's the one I want, but Rosalind's the one I need. Her father's company, her connections, her reputation, that's what builds empires. Love is for poor people. The knock at the door. Rosie? 15 minutes. Adriana's voice sang through the door. Sweet, supportive, poisonous. Rosalind looked at herself in the mirror. Her makeup was perfect. Her hair was perfect. Her smile was perfect. Everything about her life had been carefully constructed, carefully controlled. She'd been so careful to be perfect that she'd never noticed she was being used. Coming. Rosalind called, her voice steady. She deleted the messages. She slipped the phone into her clutch. She smoothed her robe and opened the door. Adriana stood there in her burgundy bridesmaid dress, holding a bouquet. She was beautiful, dark hair, green eyes, the kind of beauty that made men stupid. The ruby necklace glinted at her throat. You're wearing my necklace, Rosalind said softly. Adriana's hand flew to her neck. For just a second, panic flashed in her eyes. Then she laughed. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I found it in your jewelry box yesterday and thought it would be perfect for today. I was going to surprise you, matchy bridesmaid vibes. Do you love it? It's perfect, Rosalind said, smiling. Keep it on. It looks better on you anyway. The walk down the aisle. The ceremony was a blur. Rosalind floated through it like a ghost, smiling, nodding, playing her part. Marcus looked handsome in his tuxedo, his blue eyes warm as he took her hand. He looked like a man in love. He was an excellent actor. You're stunning, he whispered as she reached the altar. So are you, she replied. The officiant began. Dearly beloved, Rosalind's mind was calculating. The merger paperwork had been signed last week. Her father had already transferred 30% of Hart Industries to Marcus as a wedding gift. The money was gone. The power was shifted. She'd been so thoroughly, completely played. If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. Rosalind's heart hammered. This was it. The moment. She could speak. She could scream. She could show everyone the photos, expose them both, burn it all down. But she didn't. Because revenge, real revenge, wasn't hot. It was ice cold. It was patient. It was served with a smile. I do, she said when asked. I do, Marcus said, slipping the ring on her finger. You may kiss the bride. His lips touched hers. She tasted lies. The reception revelation. The ballroom glittered. Crystal chandeliers cast prisms of light across dancing couples. Champagne flowed. The band played. Rosalind danced with her new husband, her father, her investors. She played perfect. During the maid of honor speech, Adriana stood with tears in her eyes. Rosalind is the most genuine person I know, she said, voice breaking. She deserves every happiness. The crowd applauded. Rosalind raised her glass, smiling. Marcus leaned close. Happy? Completely, Rosalind lied. At midnight, as tradition dictated, Rosalind prepared to toss her bouquet. Single women gathered, laughing, reaching. She turned her back to them, counted to 3 and threw. The bouquet sailed through the air and landed directly in Adriana's hands. You're next, someone shouted. Adriana blushed, looking at Marcus. Their eyes met for just a second. A secret passed between them. Rosalind saw it and smiled. The honeymoon suite. Marcus carried her over the threshold of the penthouse suite. He set her down, loosening his tie. Finally alone, he murmured, reaching for her. Wait. Rosalind stepped back. I have a surprise. She walked to the bar, poured 2 glasses of champagne. She'd prepared this earlier, slipped the sedative into his glass. Not enough to hurt him, just enough to make him sleep. To us, she said, handing him the glass. To forever, he replied. They drank. 15 minutes later, Marcus was unconscious on the bed, snoring softly. Rosalind changed out of her wedding dress into black jeans and a hoodie. She packed a bag, cash, passport, laptop, the evidence files backed up on 3 USB drives. She left her rings on the nightstand. She left a note. Gone to find someone who actually loves me. Good luck with your empire. The backup plan. Then she walked out of her own honeymoon suite. Out of the Plaza Hotel. Out of her old life. The woman in the shadows. A black car waited at the curb. The back door opened. Rosalind slid inside. You came, said a man's voice from the shadows. You gave me a choice, Rosalind replied. You showed me the truth. And now? Now I want revenge. The man leaned forward into the light. He was older, maybe 50, with silver hair and sharp eyes. His suit was expensive, his smile dangerous. My name is Victor Kane, he said, and I've been waiting a long time to destroy Marcus Thorne. Why? Rosalind asked. Because 10 years ago, Marcus's father stole my company, bankrupted my family, and drove my brother to suicide. Victor's eyes hardened. The Thorns take everything. They use people up and throw them away. So why help me? Because you're not just his wife. You're a heart. Your family has connections, resources, credibility. Victor extended his hand. Partner with me. We'll take everything from him, his company, his reputation, his freedom. Rosalind looked at the hand. This was it, the point of no return. She shook it. "When do we start?" she asked. Victor smiled. It was a wolf's smile. "We already have." Marcus woke to an empty bed and a pounding headache. Sunlight stabbed through the curtains. He reached for Rosalind, found nothing. "Rosie?" Silence. He sat up, saw the note, read it 3 times. His face went white, then red. No. He called her phone. Voicemail. He called Adriana. She answered on the first ring, voice husky with sleep. "Marcus? What's wrong? She's gone." "What?" "Rosalind. She left. There's a note, she knows something. A pause. That's impossible. We were careful. Get to my suite. Now." The investigation. Within an hour, Marcus had called his head of security, his lawyer, and Rosalind's father, Richard Hart. They gathered in the penthouse suite, examining the note, checking security footage. The cameras show her leaving at 1 a.m., the security chief reported. She got into a black sedan. No plates visible. Richard Hart looked 10 years older. My daughter wouldn't just leave. Something's wrong. With respect, Mr. Hart, Marcus's lawyer interjected. The note suggests she left voluntarily. Then where is she? Why won't she answer her phone? Marcus paced, mind racing. If Rosalind talked, if she exposed anything before the merger was fully complete? No. He'd been careful. There was no evidence. Except there was. The anonymous messages. The photos. Someone knew. Someone had told her. "We need to find her," Marcus said, "before she does something stupid." Rosalind's transformation. 3,000 miles away, in a beach house in Baja California, Rosalind sat on a terrace overlooking the ocean. Victor Kane placed a laptop in front of her. "This is everything," he said. "Marcus's accounts, his deals, his secrets. Some legal, most not." Rosalind scrolled through files, offshore accounts, bribed officials, insider trading, environmental violations. He's a criminal. He's a thorn. It's the family business. And you want me to expose him? I want you to destroy him strategically. Victor sat across from her. If you just dump this evidence to the press, he'll lawyer up, pay fines, maybe do a year in white-collar prison. Then he'll rebuild. Thorns always do, so what do you suggest? We play the long game. First, we make him desperate. Then, we make him sloppy. Then, we make him pay. The first move. 1 week after the wedding, Marcus received a call from the SEC. They had questions about several transactions flagged in Hart Industries accounts, transactions made in Rosalind's name. "That's impossible," Marcus said. "My wife has been unavailable." "Mr. Thorne, according to our records, Mrs. Thorne Hart filed these reports herself 3 days ago. She's claiming the transactions were unauthorized, that someone used her credentials fraudulently." Marcus's blood ran cold. "I need to speak with my lawyer." He hung up, immediately called his forensic accountant. Pull every transaction in Rosalind's name from the last 6 months. Now, what they found made him sick. Someone had been systematically moving money, small amounts, carefully hidden, into accounts that looked legitimate, but weren't. Accounts that now appeared to be vehicles for money laundering. And all the paperwork had Rosalind's digital signature. "She's framing me," Marcus whispered. His lawyer shook his head. "Actually, she's framing herself. But if she's cooperating with investigators, claiming she was manipulated by you, they'll believe her. The young, naive wife controlled by the powerful husband." Marcus slammed his fist on the desk. "She's smarter than I thought, Adriana's guilt." Adriana met Marcus at a discreet wine bar. She wore sunglasses even though they were indoors. "This is insane," she hissed. "The SEC? Marcus, what did you do?" "What did I do?" "You're the one who got sloppy." Marcus leaned close. Did you ever text her? Call from your real phone? Leave any evidence? No. I used burner phones. I was careful. Someone wasn't careful. Someone sent her proof. Adriana went pale. What kind of proof? Marcus showed her the screenshot, one of many he'd received anonymously that morning. Photos of them together. Timestamps. Locations. Oh God, Adriana whispered. Who took these? I don't know, but whoever it is, they're helping her burn us both. What do we do? Marcus's jaw tightened. We find her. And we fix this. Victor's plan. Back in Mexico, Rosalind was learning. Victor taught her about shell corporations, anonymous tips, legal loopholes. He introduced her to a network, journalists, lawyers, activists, all people the Thorns had wronged. You're building an army, Rosalind realized. We're building your army, Victor corrected. You're not just a scorned wife. You're a whistleblower, a reformer. The woman brave enough to stand up to corruption, but I was part of it. My family's company was infiltrated by Marcus. You're the victim who discovered the truth. That's the story. Victor handed her a phone. Call this reporter. Tell her you want to talk about Hart Industries and your husband's illegal activities. Tell her you have proof. Rosalind hesitated. Once she did this, there was no going back. She made the call. The interview. 2 weeks later, Rosalind sat across from Margaret Chen, an investigative journalist known for taking down corrupt executives. The interview was in a secure location, cameras rolling. Mrs. Thorne, you've made serious allegations, Margaret began. You claim your husband and his company engaged in fraud, bribery, and environmental crimes. I don't claim it. I have proof. Rosalind slid a folder across the table. Documents, emails, recordings. Marcus Thorne used my family's company as a front for illegal activities. He manipulated me, isolated me, and when I discovered the truth, he tried to silence me. Why are you speaking out now? Rosalind looked directly at the camera. Her eyes were clear, her voice steady, because I believed in truth, in justice, in doing the right thing. And I won't let powerful men destroy lives without consequences. Not anymore. The interview aired 3 days later. The response was nuclear. The fall. Federal investigators raided Thorne Industries' offices. Marcus was called before a grand jury. Stock prices plummeted. Board members resigned. Partners fled. Richard Hart, once Marcus's biggest supporter, filed for divorce of the merged companies, a legal separation that would cost millions but save Hart Industries' reputation. You used my daughter, Richard said in a private meeting, his voice shaking with rage. You used my family. She's lying, Marcus insisted. This is revenge because she couldn't handle the pressure of our life. Really? Because the evidence says otherwise. Richard stood. My lawyers will be in touch. You'll return everything you took from my family, every share, every dollar, every contract, or I'll make sure you spend the next decade in court. Adriana's choice. Adriana watched the interview in her apartment, horror growing with each word. When Rosalind mentioned accomplices close to me, Adriana knew. She was next. Marcus called. We need to meet. No, Adriana. She knows Marcus. She knows everything. And she's going to destroy me too. Then we stick together. We present a united front. United? Adriana laughed bitterly. You used me, just like you used her. You said you loved me. I do love you. You love power. Adriana's voice broke. I was just stupid enough to believe I was special. She hung up. 10 minutes later, she called a number she'd found in Rosalind's old files. A lawyer who specialized in immunity deals. She was done being loyal to a sinking ship. The message. That night, Marcus sat alone in his office, surrounded by legal documents and empty scotch glasses. His empire was crumbling. His reputation was destroyed. His wife, ex-wife, was everywhere, beautiful and composed, telling the world how he'd betrayed her. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello, Marcus. Having a bad month? It gets worse. Check your email." R. He opened his laptop. A new email. No subject, just a video file. He clicked play. It was security footage from the Plaza Hotel, the honeymoon suite. Him, unconscious on the bed, and Rosalind looking directly at the camera, holding up a sign. "Thanks for the confession. The cameras in this room have been recording for 3 days. Every word, every call, every plan. Sleep well, husband." Marcus's hands shook. She'd recorded everything. His calls to Adriana, his conversations with lawyers about hiding money, his casual admissions of guilt. She'd played him perfectly. Another message. "See you in court. Bring your lawyers. You'll need them." Marcus threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. Outside his window, Manhattan glittered, a city that used to worship him, that used to see him as a king. Now they saw him as a criminal. And the woman who'd brought him down was just getting started. The courtroom was packed. Reporters lined the walls. Sketch artists captured every moment. At the prosecution table, Rosalind sat beside federal attorneys, calm and elegant in a navy suit. At the defense table, Marcus Thorne looked like a different man. Thinner, grayer, haunted. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Moreno. The trial had lasted 3 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, recordings, witness testimony. Adriana had turned state's evidence, detailing everything in exchange for immunity. Marcus's lawyers had fought hard, but there was no defense against the truth. The jury had deliberated for 6 hours. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor." The verdict: "On the charge of wire fraud, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the charge of securities fraud?" "Guilty." "On the charge of money laundering?" "Guilty." The list continued. 15 counts, 15 guilty verdicts. Marcus didn't react. He just stared at the table, broken. Judge Moreno's voice was sharp. "Mr. Thorne, you have abused your position, betrayed trust, and shown no remorse. This court sentences you to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. Additionally, you will pay restitution of $47 million and forfeit all assets obtained through criminal activity." The gavel struck. It was over. The confrontation. After the verdict, Rosalind stood in the courthouse hallway. Marcus's lawyers had requested a brief meeting, a final conversation before he was taken into custody. She agreed. They met in a private conference room. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. "You destroyed me," he said quietly. "No." Rosalind's voice was calm. "You destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it. I never meant to hurt you. You meant every bit of it, Marcus. You chose me because I was useful. You kept Adriana because she was exciting. You thought you could have everything. I loved you." Rosalind smiled sadly. "You loved what I represented. My family's name. My father's company. My perfect, naive devotion." She leaned forward. "But you never knew me. The real me. The woman who's been underestimated her entire life. What happens now? You go to prison. I rebuild my life. And you spend the next 12 years thinking about how thoroughly a backup plan can ruin a king." She stood to leave. "Rosalind," Marcus called. His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. For all of it." She paused at the door, looking back one final time. "I know you are. But sorry doesn't give me back the year I wasted believing your lies. It doesn't give back my grandmother's necklace or my dignity or my trust. Then what does? Nothing gives those back, Marcus. That's the point. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Her eyes were clear, no longer filled with pain. But I'm not broken anymore. I'm free. She walked out and never looked back. Adriana's reckoning. Adriana Voss had avoided prison, but she hadn't avoided consequences. Her immunity deal required her to testify, to confess publicly, to become the face of betrayal. She lost her job, her friends, her reputation. Social media was merciless. She couldn't walk down the street without being recognized, judged, despised. 3 months after the trial, she sent Rosalind a letter. Not an email, a handwritten letter on plain paper. Dear Rosalind, I know I have no right to contact you. I know sorry means nothing. But I need you to know that what I did haunts me every single day. I was selfish, cruel, and blind. You were the best friend I ever had, and I destroyed that for a man who never truly loved either of us. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that you were right about everything. And I hope, someday, you find the happiness I stole from you. Adriana. Rosalind read the letter once. Then she placed it in a box with all the other remnants of her old life, the wedding photos, the fake smiles, the broken promises. She closed the box and put it in storage. Some chapters needed to end completely before new ones could begin. Victor's farewell. Victor Kane met Rosalind at a quiet restaurant overlooking the Hudson one last time. He raised his glass. To justice. To closure, Rosalind corrected. Smiling, they drank. You got what you wanted, Rosalind said. The Thorns are finished. Marcus is in prison. Thorn Industries is being dissolved. Your family's name is cleared. Victor nodded. And you? Did you get what you wanted? I got something better. I got myself back. Victor smiled, genuine warmth in his eyes. You know, when I first approached you, I thought I was using you. Another piece in my revenge plan. He paused. But you taught me something. Revenge doesn't heal the wound. It just gives you control over the pain. So what now for you? I'm moving to Barcelona. My daughter lives there. I haven't seen her in 5 years because I was too consumed with destroying the Thorns. He looked out at the water. It's time to rebuild what I lost while I was busy tearing down what they built. That sounds like peace. It does, doesn't it? Victor stood, extending his hand. Thank you, Rosalind, for your courage, for your strength, for reminding me what matters. She shook his hand, then pulled him into a brief hug. Thank you for giving me a choice, for showing me I didn't have to be a victim. They parted ways, two people who had found justice together, now free to find happiness apart. The new beginning. 1 year after the wedding that never truly was, Rosalind Hart stood at the head of a boardroom table as the newly appointed CEO of Hart Industries. She'd restructured the company from the ground up. Ethical investments, transparent practices, community partnerships, employee profit sharing. The board had resisted at first, but the results spoke for themselves. Profits were up. Public trust was restored. Hart Industries was thriving. Her father, now fully retired, visited her office after her first shareholder meeting. Your mother would be so proud, Richard said, his eyes misty. Rosalind's mother had died when she was 12. A strong woman who'd taught her that grace and strength weren't opposites, they were partners. I hope so, Rosalind replied. I'm sorry I pushed you toward Marcus. I thought I was securing your future. You were doing what you thought was right, Dad. We both were. She squeezed his hand. But I'm securing my own future now and doing a damn fine job of it. The unexpected encounter. 6 months later, Rosalind was at a charity gala, a fundraiser for women escaping domestic abuse. She'd become a major donor and advocate, using her story to help others find their strength. She was talking with the foundation director when a woman approached hesitantly. Miss Hart, I'm sorry to interrupt. I needed to thank you. The woman was young, maybe 25, with nervous eyes. My fiancé was controlling. He isolated me from my family, controlled my money, told me I was nothing without him. I saw your interview after the trial, the one where you talked about recognizing manipulation. Tears filled her eyes. You saved my life. I left him the next day. Rosalind took the woman's hands. You saved your own life. You made the choice. You were brave enough to walk away. But you showed me it was possible. That I could survive. That I could be more than what he told me I was. As the woman walked away, Rosalind felt something shift inside her chest. The last piece of pain, the final shadow of betrayal, it lifted. This was why it had all happened. Not just for revenge, for purpose, the final chapter. 2 years after the trial, Rosalind received a letter from Marcus. It came from the federal prison, written in careful handwriting. Rosalind, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect anything from you anymore. But my therapist says I need to take accountability, so here it is. I was a coward. I was raised to believe that power and success were the only things that mattered. I learned to use people, to see them as assets. You were the greatest asset, kind, trusting, genuine. And I destroyed that. I destroyed you. I'm sorry. Not because I want forgiveness. I know I don't deserve that. But because you deserve to hear it. You deserved better than me. You deserved honesty and love and respect. I hope you found that now. I hope you're happy. Marcus. Rosalind read the letter twice. Then she did something she never thought she'd do. She wrote back. Marcus, thank you for your honesty. It doesn't change what happened, but it matters. I've learned that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So I'm choosing to let go. Not for you. For me. I'm not the woman you married. I'm not the naive girl who believed in fairy tales. I'm someone who's been tested, broken, and rebuilt. I'm stronger because of what you did, though I'd never thank you for it. I hope you find peace in whatever time you have left. I found mine, Rosalind. She mailed the letter and felt the final weight lift from her shoulders. 3 years later, complete peace. Rosalind stood on the balcony of her new apartment, a cozy space in Brooklyn, far from the Manhattan penthouse she'd once shared with Marcus. It was smaller, warmer, filled with plants and books and art she'd chosen herself. She'd stepped down as CEO of Heart Industries after 3 successful years, appointing a successor she'd personally mentored. She now ran a nonprofit, helping women rebuild their lives after betrayal and abuse. She dated occasionally but wasn't in a hurry. She'd learned that being alone wasn't the same as being lonely. Her phone rang. Her father. Just calling to say I love you, sweetheart. Love you too, Dad. Any plans tonight? Book club, then maybe a movie? Very exciting. She smiled. That sounds perfect, and it was. As the sun set over Brooklyn, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, Rosalind realized something profound. she'd won. Not because Marcus was in prison, not because she'd gotten revenge. She'd won because she was happy, genuinely, deeply, peacefully happy. She was no longer defined by what had been done to her. She was defined by what she'd built from the ashes. The backup plan had become the main character of her own story, and it was a story worth living. Epilogue, 5 years later. Rosalind Hart sat in a television studio across from a talk show host, promoting her new book, The Backup Plan, Finding Strength After Betrayal. So, the host asked, if you could go back and change anything, would you? Rosalind thought carefully. I'd want to spare myself the pain. But the truth is that pain taught me who I really am. It taught me I'm capable of surviving anything, of rebuilding, of thriving. Do you ever think about Marcus? Rarely. He's part of my past, not my present. I wish him healing, but he's not my responsibility anymore. And what about love? Do you believe in it again? Rosalind smiled. A real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. I believe in it more than ever. But now I know what it should look like. It should be honest. Equal. Safe. And it should never, ever make you feel like a backup plan. The audience applauded. After the show, Rosalind walked out into the New York sunshine. Her phone buzzed, a text from her book club arguing about next month's selection, another from her father sending a silly meme, another from a woman she'd mentored sharing good news about a new job. Her life was full, rich, hers. She hailed a cab, gave her address, and leaned back in the seat. The girl who'd been betrayed on her wedding day was gone. In her place was a woman who'd learned that the best revenge isn't destroying your enemy. It's becoming so completely, authentically happy that they become irrelevant. And Rosalind Hart had achieved exactly that.